Now that racing is big business, it spans the darlings of Madison Avenue. Here's the question. Are you part of the target audience? My co-host tonight has brought this ubiquitous logo to 3 different racing series, and we'll grill him about them all. And speaking of logos, racing helped make the STP Oval one of the most recognizable in the world. Tonight, we'll chat up the famous car owner behind that success story. And one of the world's most recognizable brand names will grace this guy's car in 2 weeks when he tries to win at the most famous racetrack in the world. So, who gives you fans the chance to talk to racing heavy hitters like these? Well, that's our trademark. Welcome to Wind Tunnel. Hi there, welcome to Wind Tunnel. I'm Dave Despain. Sunday night of an XTEL Cup short track weekend usually means drivers and fans all steaming about what happened on the track. And if not, we have enough leftover Darlington vitriol that will ensure at least a couple of hours worth of debate. They could have used a little more heat and a little less rain at Indianapolis this weekend. Tony Kanaan, today's big star, won the pole. Danica Patrick, row 2. And it is a measure of her expectations that 4th is a huge disappointment. And my co-host tonight isn't here, but he has a good excuse. His driver, Ryan Briscoe, was in line when the gun went off at 6 o'clock Indianapolis time. Chip Ganassi is burning up kerosene as we speak en route to this spot. And as soon as he gets here, we're going to hammer him with stuff like this email. Hey, Dave, ask Ganassi if Robin Miller's as big a jerk in real life as he is on TV. Signed, Loves Indy. I can't wait to do that, but we don't get the opportunity to do that right now. Instead, we're going to do the old Aerometrics Hot Topics. Hey, the kid finally closed the deal. Kasey Kahnes not only won Richmond last night, but he did it by beating Tony Stewart. Significant for reasons that we'll get to in due time. Highlights and your NASCAR calls and emails coming up soon. Meanwhile, Roger Penske has made Rusty Wallace an offer to buy out Rusty's share of Team Penske South. Rusty told Speed's John Roberts he may have an answer, yes or no, by the first of next week. Big deal. I'm betting Ryan Newman hopes the answer will be yes. When in doubt, whip it out. The checkbook, that is. The Long Beach Telegram says Champ Car co-owner Kevin Kalkoven is in negotiations to buy the Long Beach Grand Prix Association, promoter of his series' premier U.S. event, from the current owner, Dover Motorsports. That would ensure the race remains a part of the Champ Car World Series rather than becoming an IRL event. And am I the only one who thinks it's going to take more than bogus bumping to justify the ongoing marathon of Indianapolis qualifying? We'll get Ganassi to weigh in on that, too, but not right now. I'm getting an important message from the voices in my head. It says the 89th Indy 500 pole sitter is moments away from our camera and microphone. And apparently, we're not the only ones who want to talk to him. I can't understand that. So we're going to grab a quick break, then we're going to welcome Tony Kanaan back to the Wind Tunnel on the other side of that break. Also ahead, well, you got your Nextel Cup action in Richmond. We saw the expected bumping and grinding, but mostly it was trouble for the top guys and victory for the new guy, new to victory lane, that is. Highlights on the way. We're also going to visit several other interesting guests this evening. IndyCar owner Sam Schmidt and former Indy 500 winning car owner Andy Granatelli, along with Miller and Ganassi, assuming that the plane lands and he shows up. We'll be right back.
Wind Tunnel with Dave Despain is brought to you by the U.S. Postal Service. With more ways to use us than ever before, the U.S. Postal Service is working for you. And by Aerometrics, for a long-lasting auto fragrance that's never out of control.
Tony Kanaan didn't appear to fuss all that much over new qualifying procedures on the rain-delayed pole day at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. It was washed out yesterday. Tony calmly rolled out third today, slapped a 2:27.5 on the top of the pylon and said, okay, boys, beat that. Oh, boys and girl. Nobody did. End of story. Well, not quite. There was a little more to it than that, but with appropriate Wind Tunnel congratulations. Let's welcome our old friend back to the show. Nice job today, TK. You did good.
Thanks, Dave. Nice to be back. You know, get a good mojo so I can go win this thing on May 29.
Exactly. We'll get to that in a minute, but first let's talk about qualifying. You didn't have any really serious threats until the very end. When a guy like Roger Penske pulls the fourth-place car, plugs in your old buddy, Helio Castroneves, and sends him out with you sitting there in line, I imagine that's a little tense, huh?
Yeah, what a combination, huh? One of the guys that I always had to race all my life, and Roger Penske, I'm surprised that. He only put one car, he put two cars in line. I was like, man, I'm getting hammered here. So came a little bit of a deja vu from 2 years ago that he took me out of the pole in the last outing, but this time hopefully it didn't work for him and it worked for me. So it was nerve-wracking, Dave. I have to say that I was sitting in my car. I wasn't driving, just with my seatbelt on, and my heart was going as fast as I was qualifying the previous outing, so it was a nerve-wracking.
Well, it didn't pay off. He bumped himself back one spot to fifth, but the captain said it was Helio's choice, and therefore it was worth it. We heard a lot of talk yesterday during the rain about temperature today and that 60 degrees was some sort of minimum ambient for the tires to work properly. It was way colder than that when things started this morning. Was grip an issue? Was it hairier than usual?
Well, they've always, you know, with these cars, you have a balance because, yes, the tires wasn't, you know, they weren't coming up to temperature quite as fast as the hot days. But when we have a cold weather like this, downforce, you know, we gain a lot of downforce. So it's a compensation of it. It was tough to get it right on the first two laps. That's why Brian Barton and the IndyCar officials decided to go to a third time by. We had no choice. And to give people an extra lap to warm the tires up, and I think was no dramas. If I had to choose, I would say I would go second time by because that's what I was trying all week, so it caught me by surprise, but you know, I don't think tire temperature was an issue today.
We heard it over and over all day. The car was great. We trimmed it out all we could. I was flat the whole 4 laps. It was just slow, and I don't know why. We heard that from everybody, including all 3 of your teammates. What is the explanation for that? How does that happen?
Look, Dave, I think, you know, I can speak for my teammates because I know what they had. They had exactly the same car I had. I think the best thing to say was the conditions for me were better, but sometimes it's hard to understand what happens. You never know. The only thing you cannot judge is the conditions, and you can't simulate that. You don't know if the wind picked up a bit or not. You know, it's really hard. Track conditions, the asphalt changes, so I really have no explanation. I think I got really lucky today to get an early draw because I think the track was better before in the beginning of the day than it was at the end. I mean, the temperature didn't change all day. The wind changed direction a bit, so I would say an early draw was a good thing to have today.
In about 30 seconds, what will you do next weekend? Not very many cars left. There'll be lots of practice time. Do you just do laps, or do you get it right, cover it up, and wait for Memorial Day?
We're going to try to cover up by Friday, so Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, run long runs, the 4 of us together, and then by Saturday, we want to give the guys a couple of days off to rebuild the cars and get ready for Carb Day.
Lots of more people waiting on the satellite. We have the Indy 500 winner booked here for 2 weeks from tonight. We'll keep the seat warm for you, okay?
I'll be back.
Tony Kanaan, thank you, Tony, and good luck. We appreciate that. Highlights? Yeah, we got time for some quick highlights, I think, from the qualifying action today. Next big story is Danica Patrick, of course. Huge hype this week about the chance for a female rookie to win the pole, fueled by her position at the top of the speed charts. The big moment comes, a big bobble in turn 1. Bad news? Well, it killed her pole hopes. Good news? She saved the car. Of course, tricked up qualifying rules extended the drama. Would she come back out? No, actually. She starts 4th. Sam Hornish did come back out. 10th quick in the T-car after a backflip in practice that we'll get to later. Sam made a second attempt and jumped to the middle of row 1. First Toyota. Scott Sharp rounding out the front row. Beyond that, as we said, the car surprises mostly guys slower than they expected. Perhaps Chip Ganassi's guys all fit that list. Scott Dixon switching chassis, looking for speed, settled for 13th. Darren Manning still sore from a crash early in the week, settling for 19th. And Ryan Briscoe, got it wrong, tore up some more Target Ganassi Racing hardware, and he's going to be qualifying next weekend. So now the little voices in my head are telling me that Chip is in the building. We have a Ganassi sighting. Let's go ahead and get another commercial break in. We'll get him back in here. We'll get him in here and catch up on the rest of the activity. We'll talk about Kasey Mania getting a shot in the arm. Fan love for the Kane kid reaching a new level last night. He finally wins his first Cup race. Highlights from Richmond up next. And speaking of Cup, what, if anything, will my co-host be doing with Sterling Marlin's future? Tunnel heads want to know. And what does STP stand for? The man behind the logo, Andy Granatelli, coming in later to talk about that and about his glorious days as a winning Indy 500 car owner. We will be right back. Timing is everything. We popped the cork on the champagne. The dancing girls went home, and then you show up. Chip Ganassi, welcome to the show.
See you. Thanks for having me.
I know what you went through to get here. I want you to know we appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Let's talk about what happened today. It wasn't a great day in terms of qualifying for you guys, I guess.
Not for us, but I thought it was a great day for Indianapolis qualifying. I thought there was a lot of excitement, a lot of anxiety that's usually reserved for the last day of qualifying. It was, fortunately or unfortunately, wherever you were, it was there today. I thought it was a great day of qualifying.
I don't disagree with that if they would just end it now and remember that and not drag it, but we'll get to that later. How much are you banking on numerology? Last two Kentucky Derby winners that number's gone on to win the Indy 500.
I've heard that all week.
I know you have, and you're sick of hearing about it. Do you care about that?
Look, here, the bottom line, it's a 500-mile race, and we feel pretty good about how we run on our race setup. I mean, obviously we didn't do the job when it came to qualifying today, and other people did. My hat's off to them, and we had our ups and downs all week, and we made it through them, though.
Do you have something under Dixon now that he's happy with? I know you've been doing some chassis.
Yes, we do. He's very happy with the Panos chassis, or the G-Force, for those of you people of older IndyCar interest. And Scott's very happy. He's happy with his race setup, happy with how he's running the car. So I think he and Darren are certainly our big shots, and but Ryan, I have a lot of faith in his ability as well.
With that, I want to change subjects, if that's all right with you, because you've got, feet and racing camps all over the world, and this is the block in which we're supposed to talk about Nextel Cup. Did you go to Richmond?
I was in Richmond last night,
the Indy, Richmond, Indy, Charlotte leg.
Yes.
As Saturday night short track goes, last night's Richmond wasn't really particularly incendiary. What it was a long-awaited coming of age for yet another NASCAR young gun. He knows about young guns. Let us briefly review Kasey Kahnes' season and a half of eager anticipation. First of all, last year, only his second start. So close to beating Matt Kenseth at Rockingham, we figured, hey, how long can it take this kid to win? And then there was another near miss, wasn't there? Texas, runner-up to Elliott Sadler, and that kind of reinforced Kasey's victory potential. And then the two that got away, Kane killing him at Dover, hit somebody else's oil, crashed. Killing him again at Charlotte, blown tire, pitched him in the wall, and another postponement of the inevitable. We move ahead to this year. Second to Jeff Gordon at Martinsville. That runs Kasey Kahnes' string of runner-up finishes without a victory to 6. And that brings us to last night. He was on the pole. He was good all night. He raced it up big time with Tony Stewart, a man he admires, a man with whom he has had a couple of memorable run-ins, the man he identified as his choice to beat the night he finally won his first one. Some things just have a way of working out. Kane finally wins. Start number 47 sends his share of smoke into the Richmond night sky. Smoke himself, Tony Stewart, runs second and was among the first to congratulate the kid on the long-awaited, there'll never be another one quite like that one, first ever win in Nextel Cup. Now, Kasey and Tony had a couple of pretty emotional dust-ups last year. You may remember their crews fighting and beating on each other, rolled on the ground at Chicagoland. But you know what? The respect they have for each other, pretty obvious last night, and nice to see. You have a reputation for identifying and developing young drivers. He's not yours. Tell me how good Kasey Kahnes can be. What's this kid's potential?
Well, I mean, the world's in front of him. I mean, I think, he's shown, when you go back over his history like you just did, Dave, it takes a lot for a driver to hang in there through all that. Yeah. I mean, that could beat up a lot of people. And again, my hat's off to Kasey, hats off to Ray and his whole team. They hung in there, they persevered, and it finally paid off for them. I couldn't be happier for them as well as Dodge.
Big for Dodge. Let's consider those who had a lot less reason to smile last night. It was a bad night for the guys who had been good in the points. Jimmy Johnson got the worst of this little traffic jam, bounced off the inside wall. That hurt the Lowe's Chevy. En route back to pit road, something broke. The second impact killed the Lowe's Chevy. Jimmy's 127-point lead now down to 41. Avoiding this Rusty Wallace spin, Jeff Gordon bumped the wall. What did he call it? One of the dumbest things I've ever done, or something to that effect. Invisible but terminal damage to the right front moves Jeff from second to third in the standings. And for Kurt Busch, this is just bad luck. Lug nut jam between the brake rotor and the caliper. The fix cost him a lap. He wound up 17th and fell from 4th to 5th in the standings. And that leaves last week's co-host Greg Biffle as the big winner in the title chase. He's up a spot to second and just 41 points now behind Johnson. And one result of Jimmy's early departure is pulls more drivers, at least for now, into the chase for the championship. All the talk about the top 10. In reality, of course, the other criterion to qualify for the chase is 400 points behind the leader. 19 drivers in. Your guy at the end of that list, McMurray's in, of course, in 9th, but Sterling is 19th. My question about that is the sponsors. We heard all the gloom and doom last year. If your team doesn't get in, boy, your sponsor's just going to bail. You didn't get a team in. Did your sponsors, Coors, Haviland, Target, did they call you on the carpet? Chip, what's wrong here?
Well, first of all, thank you for mentioning all our sponsors, Dave.
In that context, I thought they deserved it.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
They asked the question, and I think everybody went into last year with an open mind and said, look, NASCAR's trying something new. We'll roll with it here and see how it goes. And I think in the end, for us, they had some questions about it. But at the end of the day, I think it raised the whole level of the water, if you will, the chase for the chase for the Cup, raised the whole level of water. Didn't raise anybody's individual boat, I think.
I got you.
But to me, for us anyway, it seemed to bring more awareness to the whole thing.
They all came back, and I presume are happy as clams to be there. Yes. Couple more guys we want to talk about, including his guy from last night. A couple of the Dodge boys, in fact. This is Ryan Newman. Crunched up his good car, got about 25 laps in the backup, qualified third, came on strong at the end, challenged Stewart for the runner-up spot. He's solid in the chase, currently 7th in the points. And as for Jamie, well, McMurray had a great run going at the end of the race last night, got himself up to 4th, and then got all tangled up with Kyle Busch, and that bumped him all the way back to 10th at the end. It was frustrating for the driver, and I presume for the car owner who's co-hosting here tonight on Wind Tunnel. Jamie was hot and got in Kyle's face and gave him one of those finger-in-the-face lectures, and then I think it probably is all past. Let me ask you about the bigger picture. We heard so much about him last year. He's unhappy. He's leaving. Now he's running better. We don't hear that anymore. Is he a long-term Ganassi driver?
I would hope so. He has a contract with us, and that goes through next year. And I hope he's happy with us. I think if in any situation, if we're doing well and we're winning races and doing well, I would think the team would stay together. If we're not, I wouldn't be surprised that a lot of things change. So I think that's just part of the sport.
Biffle talked last week about how much more fun it is with the same team.
Sure.
Now they're winning races, so he's not going anywhere. I need to take a break. On that note, we're going to do that with a little trivia question. One of our guests tonight, Andy Granatelli, and he is the father of STP, if you will. It dawned on us. None of us actually knew what the letter stood for. Do you know? It's worth an autographed bobblehead for the first tunnel head to call and tell us what STP stands for. Kids, it is not Stone Temple Pilots.
Juan Montoya wins the 84th running of the Indianapolis 500.
26-year-old Jamie McMurray pulls off the victory in just his second NASCAR Winston Cup start.
Checkered flag, this time by for 19-year-old Reed Sorensen.
Montoya, as a rookie, takes the championship.
Up through it, Max Pappas not only win the race, they are the 2004 Rolex Sports Car Champions.
What are you talking about? The man's got stats. Impressive win and championship figures in open wheel and sports car racing. That stock car nut, perhaps a little more difficult to crack, but at least my co-host is not alone in that circumstance. Let's ask him about that. Chip Ganassi jetting in here to be my co-host this evening. You and Roger Penske, you have in common a couple of things. The fact that you both have great open wheel records and that neither of you has yet been able to get the Cup title. He's been at it a good bit longer than you have with Rusty. Why? Is it that much more competitive? Is it that simple?
Oh, I think there are a lot of reasons, Dave. I think it's certainly not for lack of trying on Roger's part, I know, and I would like to think that's the case on mine as well. I think it's something that I guess I grew up in IndyCar racing, so I have to learn about NASCAR, but I'm hard at it, and I think working at it's my strong suit. I think I don't think I short-change anybody here in Concord at our shop. And we're
I'll buy that for the size of it.
Yeah, I mean we're trying to learn all about it. I mean I think you have to be a student of these different series to understand them fully. And I got a great group of people I get to work with in it, and a great group of guys all over the shop there in Concord from top to bottom. And
how about
all I can tell you is I'm hard at it.
Have you got a time frame? Is it an open-ended?
Well,
tournament?
I hope it doesn't take as long as it took Jack Roush or some of these other people. A lot of people have come down. It's taken a long time, but look at how it's paying off for Jack now. I mean,
sure.
He wins about every third week.
With that, let's go to email, and I warn you in advance, the tunnel heads tend not to pull any punches.
Sure.
Chip, I defy you to look into the camera and say you're okay with the fan count at the typical IRL race. All it would take is you and another team owner returning to the series that made you who you are today, and this sad open-wheel melee would be over pronto. And please don't regurgitate the typical nonsense about, quote, this is where our sponsors want us, unquote. Benjamin Quinby in Portland, Oregon. What would you have to say?
Benjamin, where's the camera here? Which camera am I looking at? Camera 3.
That's this one over here.
Okay, Benjamin. I have a lot more money invested in kart than you might think. Okay, over the years, and I did my best to try to help that series grow with building a racetrack in Chicago, and it was for naught. It was all for naught, I guess. So I had to go where I knew there was going to be long-term stability, and that right now for me is in the IRL.
The knock, of course, is, well, yeah, but wait, Chip, you were making all the decisions as if you were alone. The point being that CART was the car owners, that you and Roger and some of these guys who have since defected maybe were to some extent responsible for the series' demise. How do you plead?
I plead, yes, I was in the room, but I have to tell you that I was not in the club. Okay, I was in the room, but not in the club. If you, does that make sense to everyone out there?
Well, it does. Maybe if you elaborate and name names.
I really had very little say-so in what went on at CART there. I mean, I guess I was certainly a part of it, yes, because I was in the room. But as I look back on it, I did not. I didn't have much say-so at the end of the day.
I'm going to weigh in on one reason why sponsors really might prefer the IRL a little later on. That's going to be in my take. Let me ask you about engines. Mm-hmm. We know Chevy's gone, and I know you've heard this story, very popular among critics of the IRL, that Honda will go to Cup, and when they go, Honda will go because they only want to race. I said Honda, I meant Toyota. Mm-hmm. Toyota will go to Cup. Honda will go too because they only want to race Toyota, and the IRL will have no engines. What's going to happen there?
Right, I don't know. I mean, believe me, everyone thinks I know things about Toyota or Honda or Chevrolet, and I really don't. I mean, I know.
Well, you know how long your deal is.
I know how long my deal is with them, and I'm happy with that. It's as long as it's ever been.
You're about to tell us how long it is.
Well, no, but I can tell you that it's certainly as long an engine contract as I've ever had. So I'm not overly concerned about it in the short term. I guess long term, I'm always concerned about the health of a particular series we're in.
Sure.
And I see it getting healthier over the long term. So if Chevrolet in fact goes away, I mean, I've heard everything. Chevrolet is going away, but coming back as a Cadillac. And I've heard that. Yes, I've heard Toyota's leaving. I've heard Honda's leaving. I hear all those rumors. I just wish that all these people that email these rumors in would devote that energy toward positive things in this sport. There are a lot of great things happening in open wheel racing and in NASCAR that we never talk about.
Let's go to the phones real quickly. Maybe we'll talk about them now. I got Robert on the line from South Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Robert, you're on with Despain and Chip Ganassi. Take your pick.
Hi, how you doing, Dave?
Good.
I'm a big fan of the show. And thank you, Chip, for taking a chance to listen to my question. Listen, I have been hearing big-time rumors regarding Toyota once the end of the series, and was wondering, first of all, what is your contract situation with Dodge, and when Toyota gets in the Cup, would you switch to Toyota, or are you devoted to Dodge 100%?
Got it. You and Roger are both frequently mentioned in that context because he's a big Toyota dealer, and you have an obvious connection with Toyota.
I'm very happy with Dodge. I was very happy when they came into the formula, and I'm happy to be with them as long as they want to be in NASCAR.
If Toyota said to you, "We're coming, and we want you to be the team,"
well, if they came and I can assure you they have not said that to me in the least, or even come close to saying something like that. And if they did, I would tell them, look, I have a contract. And when that contract's up, we'll talk about it.
There you go. It's just like running a business, isn't it?
Interestingly enough, it is.
Still to come on Wind Tunnel, we've got IRL owner Sam Schmidt coming in to enjoy the conversation and tell us about his day up there at qualifying. Got a new deal for this year's 500, his best shot yet at winning. And a little later, Andy Granatelli. Back in the day, everybody knew that famous face. We hope to find out the secret of his success and what STP means. Call us. A three-way MotoGP fight in France today. American Colin Edwards, his Yamaha teammate number 46, world champ Valentino Rossi, and up from the back, Honda challenger Sete Gibernau, going at it big time. Colin eventually lost the pace, and Rossi got out in front when it mattered. And we all knew Gibernau was going to run right up there and get his revenge for what happened in Spain. But you know what? If you can't catch him, you can't hit him. Depending on which day of the week you check the internet rumors, you may think it's a done deal. Rossi will replace Michael Schumacher in Formula One in the Ferrari in 2007. That's based on an Italian, an Italian newspaper interview with Rossi's Yamaha team boss. The way I read the denials, I think that's 10% possibility and 90% Italian newspaper wishful thinking. And here's the flip side. Did you hear this? Alain Prost predicting this week Schumacher will retire at the end of the year, to which Michael said, "My ideas are different from Prost's," which is not exactly the same thing as saying I'm not going to retire at the end of the year, which is exactly what keeps rumors like that floating. Let's go to the phones. Rusty in Ogdensburg, New Jersey. Rusty, what's up, buddy?
Oh, Dave, I tell you what. I saw that motorcycle race today. I've never watched one before, but today I just happened to catch the last 20 laps.
Uh-huh.
I was stuck.
You like that stuff?
I'm a dirt track nut. Like NASCAR. It was just taken aback like you couldn't believe by the last 20 laps of that race.
Uh-huh. I've been telling you guys.
First and Rossi, I mean, wow.
What appeals to you most? You're a dirt track guy. Do you know anything about road racing? Are you a fan of any other kinds of road racing?
I love road racing of all kinds. I love NASCAR's road racing more than their short track or their big track racing.
Oh, I got you. I misunderstood. I thought you're a road racing fan, but not seeing the two.
I love dirt track racing. I'm a short track, half-mile dirt track nut.
I got
That's
it.
what I was born and raised on. But I watched that race today after listening to you talk forever about motorcycles, and what a race to be engaged in.
Can we assume?
This thing was awesome.
I'm getting the picture, Rusty. Can we assume you'll watch the rest of the season on Speed Channel?
Oh, without a doubt.
Can anybody catch Rossi? Can anybody beat Rossi? Is he destined to be world champion again?
Not by watching him today.
All right, man.
I mean, well, damn. And then an hour later, I caught the race from Infineon. I was like, wow.
Rusty, I have to cut the commercial short now because I have other commercials to do. Thanks, man. We're glad to have you aboard. I got to move on. The meaning of STP, the simple 3 letters. Let's see if we can give away a bobblehead. Tim, Akron, Ohio. What does STP stand for?
I think it's scientifically tested product.
Scientifically tested product. Close.
Oh.
But no cigar. Thanks for calling. Let's go to Albert in Jackson, Mississippi. Jackson?
Yeah.
STP.
It stands for Standard Temperature and Pressure.
Well, it does. What the hell? We got to give you a bobblehead, too, because I think that's accurate, although not in the context that we're asking. Stay on the line. We'll give you a bobblehead. We're talking about the stuff in the can with the circle and the red label. You know what it means?
I think I do, Dave. Should I tell everyone?
You don't get the bobblehead if you know. Yeah, we don't want to know. What does STP stand for? Want to try one more? All right, let's go. Larry Leadfoot, San Fernando, California. Larry, STP, what's it stand for?
Scientifically treated petroleum.
Scientifically treated petroleum is the correct answer, ladies and gentlemen. Larry Leadfoot in San Fernando, California.
No, it's Leadford in San Bernardino, California.
Well, close enough. I thought Leadfoot was a lot better name. Larry, stay on the line. We'll get somebody who knows the difference between San Fernando and wherever you live to take your address so we can send you a bobblehead. I thought that went really well, didn't you?
Very good, very good.
We're going to give him a break. We're going to have Sam Schmidt in here for a couple of blocks. That's all going to start right after the commercial break. We unloaded the STP freebie. Later on, we have the STP guy here. It's going to be a fun couple hours. Don't go anywhere. Back in 1999, Sam Schmidt won the Las Vegas IRL race from the pole and was a contender for the championship going into the last race of the year, but this crash cost him his title shot. A testing mishap shortly thereafter ended his driving career. Confined to a wheelchair, Sam became an owner. His car won last year's Infiniti Pro Series title and leads this year's standings. But you know what? Right now he is fired up about the Indy 500. A big-time sponsor deal has given him and driver Richie Hearn their best shot yet at the Memorial Day Classic. And Sam has had a long day at the Speedway. It's cold up there. Sam, I appreciate you staying up for us tonight. Nice to have you here.
Anytime. I love the show, and it's a pleasure to be on it.
I know the sponsorship package is big news, but let's deal with first things first. Your driver was frustrated after qualifying today, said he really didn't know why the car wasn't fast enough to get out of its own way. I know that's music to the ears of the owner. He was 20th of 22. He's in solidly. After you did all the downloading and analyzing, did you figure anything out? Because he obviously knew he could go faster.
Well, it's obviously become extremely competitive up here, and we did focus primarily Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday on our full tank race setup, and kind of got caught out a little bit on Friday without any qualifying practice when the rain came in Friday afternoon. And frankly, we've got a great group of guys and a great package, and I know I have a good race package on the 29th, but not a lot of consolation to Richie. I mean, he knows it's a good opportunity for him and for our team, and we all wanted to qualify in the top 10 and thought we had the potential to do it.
The key is to be in, of course. We've grown accustomed to seeing you and Richie pull off the annual end zone catch, some kind of last-minute deal, getting a shot at the 500. This year is very different from that. What's the story?
Well, basically, Meyer and Coca-Cola have given us a great opportunity this year. We've been working on this for, the last 6 months. As soon as they announced the fact that the Infiniti Pro Series race would be on Carburation Day, that really opened up an opportunity for us to be able to run the whole month of May and do it properly. And as most people know, I mean, Richie hasn't had an opportunity to run the whole month since 1996 when he finished third. So we definitely think he's got the potential to take the car to the front, and obviously, Meyer and Coca-Cola do as well. And we're just proud to be in the show, but looking forward to the 29th.
The colors are well known. Ari Landijk, of course, ran that sponsorship package. Tell me about you and Richie. I know you both live in the same town outside Las Vegas. Beyond that, there's obviously some link here, something that keeps you guys coming back every year. Why does this partnership work?
Well, I think generally speaking, the fact that this is such a team sport is not as pronounced as it should be. I mean, we've got a great engineer, Tim Neff, that's been with me for now 5 years as a team owner. He and Richie get along really well. And going back to 2002, I mean, we really didn't have the greatest resources out there, but we managed a 6th place finish. And I think Richie's one of the most underrated drivers out there in the sport right now. And we both do live in Las Vegas, but when it comes to making the sponsors happy, the bottom line is you have to perform. And I think our team and the crew chief and the people involved can get the job done.
What is the most important thing that this additional support is going to get you? Is it parts? Is it people? Is it the luxury of more track time? What's the difference this year?
All the above, really. I mean, the fact that we were out here at 12 o'clock on Tuesday, the day we opened, is a huge improvement over the last couple of years, where we have had to do last-minute deals. And having the right amount of motors and a backup car and you know, the proper crew. I mean, all these things are things that we have not had the last 2 years. So, of course, the competition has risen substantially over the last 3 or 4 years. So, it's all weighted out.
Let's touch on Infinity Pro. You won that championship last year with Tiago Medeiros. Won the opener this year with Travis Gregg. There's always a second car from your stable with a revolving cast of drivers. I presume that's a rental ride that helps pay for it all. My question is, the series itself, is it going to become a meaningful stepping stone for the drivers hoping to get into an Indy car? Is it that now, or can it become that?
I think it definitely is. I mean, from the drivers that we've seen come through the series and get into the IRL, the horsepower and I guess the technical side of the car is very similar to an IRL car. So we've been able to see the drivers step immediately from these cars, being 425 horsepower, into the IRL car, and immediately just be able to understand the technical side of an IRL car. So I'm hoping, obviously, the series will evolve to where there's more and more drivers making it to the IRL from there, as opposed to maybe coming over from some of the European series.
And on that note, I need a quick commercial break. Hang with me a minute. We'll come back on the other side, continue our conversation with Sam Schmidt as he prepares for the Indy 500. And ahead, what does the future hold for Coors Light NASCAR driver Sterling Marlin? We'll tackle that issue with his car owner, Chip Ganassi. And what does Robin Miller think of this week's action at Indy? He'll be joining us in just a bit, along with Mr. 500 Andy Granatelli, about the short-lived glory days of the turbine car and Johnny Carson as a driver. Great example of the safer barrier at Indianapolis at work. Darren Manning, look at the thing give. He was uninjured. Same view of Paul Dana's hit. He'd scrubbed off less speed and as a result suffered 2 fractured vertebrae, and that's not good, but we are left to contemplate how much worse it might have been. The good news, Dana released today from Indianapolis Methodist Hospital. And that brings us back to Sam Schmidt. Sam, by all accounts, your crash at the Disney World Speedway in 2000, very similar to that, except for safer barriers, except for the attenuators on the back of the car. We can't go back, would that we could, but as we go forward from here, where would you like to see the focus in IndyCar safety research? What's the problem area you're concerned about now, if any?
Well, geez, I mean, we've made so many advances in the last 5 years. I mean, there's really multiple, and I actually give a lot of credit to Tony for investing a ton of money in the safer barrier process, and it's a constant evolution. I mean, they keep trying to slow the cars down, and here we are now, 5 miles an hour, 6 miles an hour faster than we were this time last year. So I'm not exactly sure that the technological advances on the safer side can keep up with the speed we keep creating. But
so let me ask you, what should the speed be? If you can't break the track record, does it matter whether you're going 228 or 218 or 208?
Yeah, I mean, I think from a fan perspective, it really doesn't matter that much. I mean, I think nobody likes to see anybody get hurt, but by the same token, I mean, racers are racers, and the guys on the technical side are severely outnumbered on the IRL side of things by 200 engineers making a whole lot of money. So it's a tough balancing board, that's for sure.
It's a separate issue. One more safety thing before we move on. Separate in that it's a spectator safety issue as much or more than a driver safety issue. Sam Hornish, this week again, the IndyCar backflipping. Sam ran over debris from that Paul Dana crash. He had time to slow down a good bit before the launch point. Unlike Mario Andretti 3 years ago, we're left to wonder how Hornish's altitude might have compared with Mario's in this astonishing 2003 flight if Hornish had been flat out. The question is how to prevent that. I mean, you're a car owner. Does that kind of crash concern you in particular, and do you have any thoughts on how we keep those cars on the ground?
I mean, gosh, it definitely concerns me a lot, especially from where I'm sitting. I mean, I'm definitely as much concerned about safety as anybody out there. It's just one of those situations where you can see that huge piece of debris sitting in the middle of the track, and you're like, I'm thinking in my mind, slow motion, don't hit it, and sure enough, went straight over the center of the thing. But we spend so much time and effort making these cars stick to the ground at speed that once you get them started up in the air, I'm not really sure from an aerodynamic standpoint to how to make them immediately go back down to the ground. It's in a reverse effect once you get them off the ground, which we saw a little bit today with I believe Ryan's situation, where the car got a little bit airborne and it got a little air under it, but at the same time, once it did, it seemed to come down pretty quick. So you definitely, going back to your main point though, you definitely don't want to see that have any negative effect as far as the fans as well.
I'll just note that you have been favorably compared with Christopher Reeve, and leave it at that, with our congratulations for that comparison. I know you'd rather not be, because I want to close with a look to the future. You've got the race coming up Memorial Day. You've got this new opportunity. Might this lead to something bigger down the road, and what would it take to satisfy you on Memorial Day? Anything short of victory?
Yeah, I mean, I think just a good, clean day, and I think our goals coming to this thing were to run in the top 10 all day, and hopefully come up with a top 5 to 6 finish for Meyer and Coca-Cola. I mean, we certainly don't have the resources of my buddy Chip there in the studio, and Roger and those guys, but it certainly is a pleasure to be out here every year and compete in the 500. We are primarily focused on winning the IPS championship again this year, and winning a lot of races there, and continuing to develop some drivers over there. But who knows down the road what that'll develop to. I'd love to get back in the IRL full time, but it obviously takes a lot of resources to do that, and a lot of corporate involvement. And I'm still kind of new at being an owner, so we'll just keep doing what we're doing, and hopefully that'll get some more people interested down the road.
You may be new at it, but you're doing a great job, and we're all pulling for you. Congratulations on the success thus far, and I hope it's a great Indianapolis for you. Thanks again, Sam, for taking time for us tonight. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Dave. I appreciate it, too.
Sam Schmidt, ladies and gentlemen. With that, we'll take a commercial break. We'll get the aforementioned Mr. Ganassi right back in here and tackle this big pile of stock car questions that have accumulated from all you tunnelheads out there. We'll be right back.